Okay, so we will start discussing the different market structures by beginning with the perfectly competitive market. Now, a perfectly competitive market is more rare than what uh, most students would probably think. And in order for a specific industry to meet this standard, it has to meet very specific criteria. Okay, so for a firm to be considered in a perfectly competitive market, there needs to be several characteristics. First and foremost, there's a large number of sellers. So there are lots of available producers in the market. There is a homogeneous product is sold, meaning it is identical in every way. It's really easy to get in and out of the market. That's what we mean here by freedom of entry and exit. Perfectly competitive firms are price takers, and they are the only major market structure that is a price taker. And the reason they are a price taker is of this homogeneity of the product being sold. They simply have nothing unique that they can offer the customer to charge a different price than what everyone else is. Now, in terms of overall societal well being, well, this market structure has the highest degree of consumer surplus, and there is no dead weight loss in the model. Now, with that being said, can you actually think of any firms that would reside in this market? Dramatic pause there. Pretty hard to. The one I normally use in class would be agriculture, where an average consumer is probably not going to know which farm corn came from. But most other products, like fast food hamburgers, well, they're differentiated. A Five Guys burger is different than a McDonald's burger versus a Wendy's burger, etc. Now, when we look at a perfectly competitive firm, we know from looking at our cost structures that they will have a marginal cost curve that slopes upward. And of course, that's because of diminishing marginal productivity. And because they are a price taker, the price of this particular product will be determined based on the interaction of supply and demand in the industry itself. So if the industry is soybeans, well, the market will determine the overall price, and every perfectly competitive firm within that marketplace will have to sell at this price. Now, with that being said, we can quickly determine optimal profit because, as we know, optimal profit is always going to occur where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Okay, you do not want to produce where marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue because then you are spending more to make the product on a per unit basis, or that additional unit costs more to produce than what you're bringing in revenue. As long as your marginal revenue is higher than your marginal cost, you should keep increasing production. So, very simple table here. The only thing we want to look at is the marginal cost. So, we should remember that marginal cost is the incremental increase as we add units. So when we go from 1 unit to two, our total cost goes from 3 to 6, which means our marginal is 3. When we go from 2 units to three, total cost increased by 4,000, and you can see where the marginal cost is coming from. It's simply the change in the total cost as we work our way down the table. It's also the change in the variable costs as well. Because remember, the total cost is simply the fixed and the variable added together, and the fixed cost does not change. So, if we wanted to find optimality, we would simply keep expanding production as long as the marginal revenue is higher. So at 4 units, we keep going. 5 units, keep going. 6, keep going. 7 is where we would stop. Why? Because if we produce an 8th unit, the marginal cost is going to be 18,000. The marginal revenue is 15, so we would actually be losing money. And you can see here in this table that our profit and loss, that's what P&L stands for here, is the difference between our total revenue and our total cost. And we can see that we maximize it here at 7 units. Now, how do I get total revenue? Well, total revenue is simply the price times the number of units sold. So in this case, it'd be $105,000 minus total cost. Total cost is provided in the table here. 105,000 minus 46 is 59. Now, we can, of course, look at some other problems, and in a class setting, we would work through these. But the moral of the story is that you're going to produce where MR equals MC, or as close as you can get without going over, a bit like playing blackjack. And in the short run, we have a few different potential outcomes for a perfectly competitive firm. Okay. Best case scenario here is an economic profit. This means that our price is greater than our average total cost and our average variable cost. This is a great outcome. However, when we have an economic profit in a perfectly competitive industry, you're going to see other firms likely come in because it's easy to get in this market and they're selling a homogeneous product. So rivals will enter to basically eat up those profits. A normal profit, P equals average total cost. So we're covering all of our costs, and in this case, also our opportunity costs. This is not going to attract new entrants into the market because a normal profit is nothing to get excited about, and there's probably better options in other industries. Here, the average total cost being greater than the price, greater than ABC. This means in the short run, our price covers our variable costs, but we do not meet all of our costs. So in the short run, we'll remain open, but unless we can find a way to lower our costs or to improve our pricing, then we will eventually go out of business. And of course, if we can't even cover variable costs, we will end up closing. Now, this doesn't mean that this happens. Oh, we open a restaurant on a Friday and within a week we close up. You have to have a reasonable expectation to build clientele. And what this looks like graphically, of course, is this would be a firm that's earning a economic profit because the price is up here and the average total cost is here. This rectangle would represent our profit. The next one, this would be a normal profit, and this is the best case scenario for a perfectly competitive firm in the long run. This, of course, would be average total cost is up here, variable cost is down here. So our price is at least covering our variable cost, but we won't sustain this into the long run. And then this, of course, we can't even cover our variable costs. And so for the perfectly competitive firm, our best case scenario is to earn a normal profit in the long run. Now, to avoid this fate, what they can do is to try to improve their position by moving into a different market entirely. And that would mean going from a competitive market to what we call an imperfectly competitive market. And the next step up in weight class for them would be to be a monopolistically competitive firm, which we'll talk about in a later video.